Hey guys, Kev here, and I have rapid reviews to do for you. I got 4 knives here today, so let's start it off. I have the Tuya Knives Big Belly. So this is a knife I got in about a week and a half ago from Dave Warren over at Tuya Knives. I actually got it as I was on my way out to go to the meetup we had in Bucks County, which was awesome. And guys, this is an absolutely fantastic shaft lock, axis style lock knife. Probably my favorite. I don't know, I gotta think. I really like the Anthem from Benchmade, the way they did that. The problem with it is it's kind of like too easy to engage the lock on the Anthem. On this, it's like a nice, clean pull. You feel the spring, like not in a bad way, you feel the pressure. And they actually dialed in a detent that feels pretty good. Detent, it's not a real detent, it's a spring, but they did it justice, and I really appreciate that. This was provided to the channel by Dave Warren over at Tuya. I am going to send it around to some other channels to review, so keep that in mind, obviously, but I don't think it's affecting my review in any way. For $200 and I believe like $80, this knife is a steal. You're going to ask me, why is it $280, Kev? Well, it's carbon fiber and it's an integral. So there is one piece of carbon fiber milled out to take the blade in, take all the hardware in, which is absolutely impressive. They use these like steel plates on the sides, kind of like bolsters, and that's how they got the lock in there. And it works absolutely fantastically. I think aesthetically it looks good. It's got a nice big kind of belly blade to it. That's why it's called the Big Belly. It's got that kind of like Griptilian, Super Freak sort of look to it, right? Which is cool. It's kind of a thing you see a lot with axis style locks. Ergonomics are absolutely fantastic. Now, you really only get this one grip. You see there's a little swell here, and then it kind of rounds to the back. That's kind of your grip. Now, I will say, if you have large XL, 2XL size hands, be careful. I have a large glove size hand, and it fits perfectly. So anything bigger, like I can spread out a little bit. If I want to choke up a little bit, I can. But, I mean, if your hands get much bigger than mine, you're talking 3 fingers. But if that's okay with you, you're good. But you really get this one grip, and that grip is very comfortable. The blade is M390 steel. It has sort of like cross satin, machine satin grind. So like on the top here, it's kind of going this way, and on the bevel there, it's going vertically. These are probably the best grind lines I've seen from anybody not named Riot in the OEM game. So that is a huge compliment to Tuya for nailing those grind lines. Good to see another company do that. The action is awesome. Like I was saying about the detent, it works fantastically. You can reverse flick it. I can do it without wrist. I just was kind of being lazy there. You can use the axis lock / shaft lock, sorry. It works fantastically. One thing I will say is, you see it floats freely there. I love how they made the crossbars stick out just a little bit more than usual. And that really gives you a good purchase on these. So if this is a knife you might use with gloves, it'll work really well. It is kind of weird to think of a carbon fiber integral with a 3D mill clip as a knife you could use for work. But like, I think this thing could do work for sure. I put it through some cardboard and it felt fantastic. The edge is excellent on it. It's got a saber grind that grind is pretty tall. So it's coming down to a good edge. The thickness of the blade stock is not too much. It's pretty much perfect. They nailed it. My only negative off the bat was the thumb studs are sitting kind of close to the scale. If you see there on both sides, sits kind of close. Well, it's a learning curve. After about 10 minutes, you get used to it, and all of a sudden you are firing this baby out, no problem. At first, I was kind of like missing them because it felt too close to the scale, but you learn, you adapt, and bang, you got an awesome knife in your hand. It is dead nut centered. And yeah, this is pretty much a solid home run from Tuya. They nailed it with this guy. Now, for me personally, is it my favorite knife ever? No, but I'm not an Axis style lock guy. I've kind of grown out of that phase for me personally, and I know we're going to be seeing more and more of it because Benchmade lost the patent and now companies are able to make them. So maybe I'll start getting into them again. I just don't like the fact that I don't get like the feeling of a real detent. And you can't really do a knife with a hole for deployment with the Axis style lock. At least I haven't seen a good one. And I am a hole deployment guy. Like, that's my favorite type of deployment. So it kind of renders the Axis lock not my favorite. You know what I'm saying? I also don't like how there's no real detent. So, like, you can... Not on this one, because like I said, the spring is pretty damn... good. Yeah, you're not shaking it out, guys. I just broke a sweat. So... The Big Belly from Tuya is awesome, guys. Definitely worth picking up. There's only 220 on this run, and this is number 8, and it is an M390, produced in China by Tuya, obviously. So, did I miss anything? Carry. Oh, yeah, it is a reversible 3D milled clip, which is awesome. They have these kind of like prongs in here, and that's how it goes in without needing multiple screws, and it stays like really stiff. I mean, I can't even wiggle it at this point. So they did a great job. Like I said, it's reversible, so lefties, righties, rejoice. I think I covered all the things I needed to cover on this. Great knife from Tuya. Next up, we have the Mbk Sprocket. So this is one I got in from Mbk, obviously. Sanford Owen sent this my way to check out. And I right away sent it off to Bob, the knife junkie, so he could check it out. And then I got it back. So you might have seen the unboxing, first impressions, like a month ago or so. And now I'm doing the review. That's why. This knife is cool. I think it's super overlooked in the Mbk lineup. It did come out in like fall of 2019, so that could be another reason it was pretty early in their evolution, so to speak. But guys, this thing is an absolute just dream. I mean, I don't understand why they're still available. Like, they're still on the site right now, so if you want one of these, you can go get one. For $200, you can get M390 and this beautiful titanium handle, 3D milled clip, and it does this. So, like, and it does this. I mean, it's just really, really good, guys. So let's start off aesthetically. What do I think? I think it looks sexy. I love the way the lines work. I love how it has a little bit of a sort of poon spoon right here, right? It's got a little bit of recurve to it. That might be one of the reasons people didn't jump all over it. It's got a little bit of a pocket pecker. I get that, but it's not that bad. It's got a nice little curve to the handle. I'm not a big speed hole guy, but they did it well on this knife. They didn't make them too big where you can like shove your finger in there and feel the blade. The ergos are absolutely fantastic. I mean, you're only in this one grip, but this one grip is just excellent. At least for my large glove size hand, you have a swell and a bigger swell, and you just lock in. I can't explain it. It is so good. Right-handed, I think it's even better because that clip falls like into your palm. Clip obviously is not poking in any way. Just feels excellent. And then you kind of can choke up. You got this little flipper style choil right here. You can choke up, do some precision cutting. The M390, as far as I can tell, is excellent. Comes down to a pretty thin edge for having relatively beefy stock. You can see there. But they have essentially a full flat grind, not quite, but essentially, and it feels thin, guys. It really feels thin down by the edge. This knife is the first knife that Mbk had made by their current OEM, who is absolutely killing it right now. I'll show you another knife later on in the review here. But yeah, guys, I don't understand the lack of support for this knife. It is designed by, I believe, Jerry McGinnis. I always want to say a different name, but maybe that is the name. I don't know. I think it's Jerry McGinnis. And he's an American designer. And look at that flipper tab. I just think it's really cool. It's not like super peckery, but it does stick out, obviously. But the way they dialed the detent, man, it's pretty stout, but in a good way, because this flipper tab gives you the leverage you need, if you know what I'm saying. So then you disengage, which is easy. I mean, absolutely no problem getting in there. There's a little bit of jimping, but not much going on there. They just made it work perfectly, and it drops shut. So you get a great detent and drop shut action. Cuts like a dream. Ergonomics are fantastic. It carries well. The clip is good. Goes in pocket, goes out of pocket, stays out of the way. Again, a little bit of a pecker, but I mean, that's really your only trade-off on this knife. Other than maybe the slight recurve, if you're a sharpening guy, maybe that's an issue. I don't know. I'm not a sharpener. Dead nuts on centering, of course. And I want to point out the chamfering around the edges. Just look how rounded everything is on the chamfers. It just gives me like Sharp by Design vibes, which is pretty impressive for a $200 knife, right? So that is the McGinnis designed Mbk Sprocket. Another awesome knife from a Chinese OEM. Thirdly, we have the Benchmade BK-945- I don't know. I think I got that right, but I don't know the end of it. This is the Mini Osborne. This is a knife that I believe probably doesn't need to exist, but after handling this and the Mini Bug Out, I will say that this one makes more sense than having a Mini Bug Out. That Mini Bug Out is mini. Like, it is freaking tiny. This one is also very small. I can get 4 fingers on it, which is kind of nice. You could sort of choke up like this if you want. But my whole theory with this is the Osborne was kind of made to be a all-around knife, like a pry tool, a knife to cut shit, a scraper, a freaking, you know, whatever, right? It's meant, like, use it as a freaking hammer. Like, this knife was meant to put in work, right? That's what Mr. Osborne over in Australia designed it to be. At least I'm pretty sure he's from Australia. Yeah. So it's just weird that they minied it, right? If anything, you might want like a beefier version of it. But you know what? People think this is like the ultimate EDC. Like, when you get into the community, at least when I did, not a couple years ago, but at this point, probably like 3 or 4, you know, the Osborne was like, you had to get one because it's like the ultimate EDC knife, and it's the Benchmade. Like, it was always the Osborne 940 and the Paramilitary 2. You know what I mean? And it just, I don't know. I just don't feel that way. And making a mini doesn't make much sense to me. But anyway, ergonomically, if you have a small or medium-sized hand, mine's large, so it's not great. Does kind of work, but if you have a small, medium hand, it'll work pretty good for you, I guess. So it does make sense, I guess, in that case. It cuts decently. I think I tested the edge and it wasn't very good. If you watch my first impression sort of video, it's not a very tall blade. It doesn't really have much room to come down to a thin edge, right? And Benchmade's not really the best at doing that in the first place, so it kind of is what it is. I don't understand why they didn't black out the axis lock. You can see everything else is blacked out, hardware and everything, but they left the axis lock bars chrome or satin. I don't know if that's because they wanted you to be able to see it. Action-wise, this one you can tell right now is dialed in pretty good, but that is at the expense of the centering and the expense of the blade play. I don't know if you can hear it. It moves in all directions, and that's how you can get it to drop shut. So it's kind of a give and take with Benchmade. You probably all know that by now. I could tighten it down and it wouldn't have play, but then I wouldn't be able to open it. And it for damn sure wouldn't drop shut. So it's kind of, like I said, a give and take. Luckily, the axis lock is pretty damn strong. So having a little bit of blade play, it's probably not going to fail on you or anything. It is pretty fun to fidget with. Once you get it in your hand and you start messing with it, you can do the one finger unlock type thing. You know, obviously you can reverse flick it, left-handed, right-handed, you can reverse flick it. If you're any good at reverse flicking right-handed, you can thumb flick it, you can axis-y flick it. So you have a lot of options here. Has a reversible clip. It's basically an ambidextrous knife, so there are some positives to this knife. Something's loose. I mean, I don't know if you can hear that, but something is, whoa, okay, hang on. Man, the blade is that loose that it just feels like, hear that? I don't even know what that is. I feel like this knife is going to explode in my hand. Anyway, that is the Benchmade Mini Osborne 945. Last knife on the table is the Mbk Xlc. Probably my favorite on the table. I do love that Tuya Big Belly, and I do like the Sprocket. But this knife just excels in so many categories. It is a titanium integral. So you have a full titanium milled out body. So just like the Tuya, we got two integrals on the table today. You can see there's no back spacers or anything. One piece of titanium is milled out, and then you have an M390 blade installed into it, and not a deep cut. You have a 3D milled clip that sits pretty deep. I really enjoy their clip. Standard MBK sort of EZC type affair with the fuller there. This essentially is an XL EZC. No, it is, but it's a integral. They do have an EZC 2.0, which is a 3-inch version with the integral and everything, which is cool. My favorite thing about this knife is it has the best detent I've ever felt on an integral. It fires out of there. It's not a dropper, but it's very smooth on the close, but I will take that for that detent. And the reason it doesn't drop shut is because of the lock bar pressure, hence the good detent. So if I push this lock bar out of the way, it's going to free fall, right? So that tells you the bearings, the pivot, all of that is good. It's just that there's some lock bar pressure, and that's why it's not going to just free fall close. But it's very smooth on the close. You can hear it just thunder out. At least I hope you can. Just has one of the best acoustic sounds on opening I've heard on a knife. This one is a tiny bit off center, I think. If you look at it from that angle, it looks off center. If you look at it from like this angle, but like from my side, it looks dead centered. So it's kind of like from this side, it's a little off to the clip side. From this side, it's dead nuts. I gave up. I tried so hard. There's no blade play though, and it drops. Very, very nice action. The ergonomics on this thing are outstanding. It is very neutral. So if you have like an XL, 2XL hand, you're going to be able to hold this extremely well. I have plenty of room here, right? So like I could have done with a 3¼ inch version, 3.3. This is 3.5, I believe, maybe a little more. You do have a sort of flipper choil here, but you're getting close to that edge, and that edge is gorgeously sharp. It is a full flat grind, comes down to a stunning edge, cuts like an absolute dream. Pretty sure I did a video, first impressions, where I cut, and man, is it good. The stock to begin with is not very thick, so it's just so excellent. You have the flipper right there with that jimping. Man, because it's an XLC, I think the flipper's a little longer, and it just is phenomenal. I mean, I cannot recommend this knife enough to people. It's $300, which, yeah, normally they're knives like the Sprocket here, the pincher, the layback, whatever, right? The EZC 1.5s, they're usually like $180, $200, $180 to $220, right? This is $300 because it's an integral, and usually those start at like $450 when you get a titanium integral like this, and then they go up, right? This is $300, and yes, it's just a plain titanium frame integral, but it is extremely well made, dialed in. I will say, if you don't like a stiffer detent, you probably do want to avoid this one. So like the EDC 1.5 and the XLC have a, I would say, right on the cusp of stiff detent. It's like medium stiff to stiff, right? Whereas the pincher, the slayback, those knives have a like medium light detent, right? Maybe even just medium. And the way they're dialed is they all work fantastically. But if you're not into a stiffer detent, I would probably suggest you try those knives, slayback, pincher. If you are somebody like me who loves a little bit of a stiffer detent occasionally, then the XLC and the EDC 1.5 are for you. So that's just a quick rundown. Absolutely love this knife. Especially for those of you with large hands, you finally get to experience the Ray Laconico design in a platform for you, which is awesome. And I'm kind of like an in-between. So like I can rock small knives, I can rock big knives, I can rock medium knives. So like it's awesome to just handle them all. But I will say this is more comfortable than like the slayback or the EDC 1.5 because I just have a little bit of room here, you know? And I will say it is awesome to carry. Pops right in the pocket. It's super thin. I mean, at least to me, it's thin. It's definitely less than half an inch. Absolutely a home run from Mbk. They keep knocking them out of the park, guys. Sorry, I've had my wife coming in after a shower. My kids' monitor popping on. Apologies. But got to do the dad life. If I want to record, got to deal with it. So that's it, guys. Those are the 4 knives I wanted to review real quick. Monterey Bay Knives, XLC. Shout out to Sanford Owen. He sent me this to check out. I am going to be buying it, so yeah, that happens. But he sent me this to check out as a loaner, which is awesome. Benchmade 945 Mini Osborne. Mbk Sprocket. Another big thanks to Sanford Owen for letting me check that out. And the Tuya knives, Big Belly. Thank you to Dave Warren from Tuya for letting me check that out. And I forgot my buddy Chris, my local buddy here, Chef Chris, let me check this bad boy out. Really appreciate it, dude. Yeah, I think it's for sale or trade. So if anybody's interested, he is trading or selling this. Pretty sure anyway. That is the 940 Osborne. So thank you guys. Much appreciated. Much love. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.